None of VPM Partners, Bob Kendall, or any of its officers, directors, employees, other personnel, representatives, agents, or independent contractors is, in such capacities, a licensed financial advisor, a registered investment advisor, or a registered broker-dealer. None of VPM Partners or its personnel gives investment or financial advice or makes investment recommendations, nor are any of them in the business of effecting trades or directing client equity accounts or giving futures trading advice tailored to any particular client situation. Nothing contained in VPM Partners broadcasts, on its websites, or in its written materials constitutes a solicitation, recommendation, promotion, endorsement, or offer by others described above of any particular security, other investment product, transaction, or investment. Copyright 2014 VPM Partners. All rights reserved. Terms of use apply. Reproduction, adaptation, distribution, public display, exhibition for profit, or storage in any electronic storage media in whole or in part is prohibited under penalty of law.
Hello everyone. Running a couple minutes late. For some reason, Mitch and I are trying to figure this out. There's all kinds of issues with the setup for this show. But anyway, I think we've got quite a bit of exciting stuff to go through today. One of the things that I promised you the other day was that we would go through the trade impact chart. And not only have we gone through we will go through it, we'll show you how you have access to all the premieres right now and be able to review them. And we'll go through that first, because I think this is going to be really big on you folks actually being able to talk more about the process and demonstrate how the process works. And someday in the future, we plan on having this available for every portfolio that's out there. We're working toward that right now with some of this new technology that we're addressing. So anyway, Mitch, say hi to everyone.
Hey. What a day. I mean, it is technical difficulties after technical difficulties with Process Warriors in particular. And as you can see, I'm a little bit of a specter today.
Yes. Yeah, anyway, what we're going to go through first here is I'm going to bring up, go into VPM Connect. We're going to start talking about this. The viewable area that we have to show you is somewhat small, but it will be a good tutorial for you to go out and look at this stuff yourself, because it's all live on the website right now. So let me just see if I can get over to the browser here. Probably not that one, but let's see if I can get on there. I thought I had it already set up, but of course I don't, right? Because that's the way this one is going here today. So let's go ahead and I'll just bring this up and we'll start from scratch.
Okay.
And we'll log into my account. And we will be there very shortly. And I'm going to make this a bit smaller just so it will fit better on the page. That's probably a little better, especially with Mitch and I on the on this page here at the moment. I'm actually I'm going to move him over so he's not quite in the way. So I will do that here in a second. You'll see him move over. Look at that. How interesting is that? Anyway, so on this screen, I'm going to make this. I can move some things around here to get it centered between us here. So I hate when we're just talking to a flat screen and you're looking at a screen and we're talking. There's a new banner up the top. These all the sectors and the funds and everything that we've talked to you about before has been there before. Now we've got a new banner, and we'll go ahead and we'll just bring on it. And Mitch and I are going to tag team this a little bit. And like I said, I can slide this around. I'm going to try to get it big enough so it's a little easier to see. And then I may go to yeah, now I'm way out of control. But yeah, nice. Don't get any Windows 8 machines. You don't want to get me going on this. Mitch hears it too much. I'm just going to trash it. Look at this thing. It just keeps bouncing around. Okay, we're going with this. This screen that we have here is showing you. No, that's classic. It's showing you the graphic here. At the solid blue line is actually the equity curve. All the dots on the screen are the individual trades, and it's showing the percentage impact that each trade had, both negative and positive. And what's cool about this, you can go over and do a mouse over, and it will actually show you what that trade impact was. Why is it not doing it? Just did it. Yeah, Mitch and I were just talking about what is it about this show that nothing seems to want to work now. Now I just have like this cursor that won't. It's just blinking, doing weird things. So here we go. Just anything. Show me anything. There we go.
There we go.
So what it's showing is that EEM was sold, and the impact on the portfolio was 8%. So you can go through and look at any trade that's on the scatter graph at the time, but you can also do something even more interesting. So you can see what all the impact is, but I can go over here and just click on EEM here. I believe I clicked on, and what it's going to do is it's going to highlight just the trades that were done with EEM. So I believe it's still processing here.
Yep, so now you have them all selected. And also, if you scroll down on the page, Bob, there is a trade log.
Yeah, I just turned it off. Yeah, because it didn't look like. So now you're going to see the trades gray out again. Now you can just see all the trades that were done for EEM. And if I go down below where Mitch was talking about, right here, down at the bottom here, it shows each trade, negative, positive, everything that was done with the trade to see what the impact was. And you can see one of the bigger trades back in 5/11/04. I'm going way back here and do a mouse over here, and you can see that it's showing that it had a 7.86% impact. What that means is it actually added 7.68% to the portfolio in value. So now you can see when you have a small loss or any wins or losers, you can see exactly what the impact is on each one of these. And this is pretty exciting. Right now there's a drop down over here that you can go, and you can even go, we'll go to the PPG 500, and now the bottom where all the dots are is just going to be a cluster of blue because this has 500 stocks in it, and what we're showing you is every trade. So if I go and put my mouse over here randomly, it's going to pop up on a symbol. It's got Adobe sold. Of course, that one didn't have any impact on the charts. So we're looking at right now just randomly Apple. Here's a trade here.
Yeah, it is rounding it down at this point.
Yeah,
and, we're going to get a little bit more precision. This is still in the lab phase. It's just about fully finished. But especially on a portfolio with as many constituents as this one does, it's going to have obviously a very small impact per position. Where you're going to see the most value, I think, is something on like the all-weather ETF or your global equity strategy, where you really do have just a select number of securities that really are driving the returns, and you're going to see that very clearly when you load up one of those type of portfolios.
Yeah, let's go ahead and bring up the. We'll bring up the all-weather ETF here, just so you can see exactly what we're talking about.
There you go.
And so now you can see the equity curve. You can go in here, and you can click on any of the constituents. I'm just picking on one, and it will just show you those trades. So everything's out there. There's a thing I do want Mitch to talk about.
At the air.
Of course.
Just go ahead and click off of it, or you can refresh the page, and it should go away. Yeah, this has been it's been an exciting day with technology, to say the least. But to go into the background of why this chart was created in the first place, obviously when we execute trades on a strategy, we hope that there's going to be a nice impact on the portfolio. But with all the activity within these transactions, you can sort of get lost out in the forest as far as what each trade really did. Probably one of the greatest examples of this is something like a Netflix, where we had I don't have the numbers right at my fingertips, Bob. But
why don't you stick with what we got here? Look at it. EEM is good.
EEM is a great example because that is one we did get some feedback on. So you see, if you highlight over in 2009, see that one dot way at the top. You just highlight over that.
Yeah, I'm trying.
That doesn't load up right away. We can scroll down to the trade log. Maybe that's a better thing.
I already clicked on down below where you can see the trade log.
Okay.
So
perfect.
So what number was that?
That was in 2009.
Okay. So it's going to be this one here, I'm sure. Yeah. There you go.
So the way that we're calculating this impact number, we're looking at the value of the total account the day that we took on these positions. So in this case, you see that the actual returns for that one position was a gain of 35%. But because this one position represented such a large portion of the overall portfolio, that 35 and change return had an overall impact of 11%. So this just goes to show that every time that you take on a trade, positive or negative, the portion of that portfolio matters that this trade represents. So what this does is this, especially in a portfolio like this, where we're taking on, I think the allocation factor on this is somewhere around 30.
0.31.
0.31, perfect. Which means that, and I believe that was the case with this trade right here. When we initially had the first purchase on this, we took a 30% position in this trade. And then as the trade went on, because the gains were so nice on this, when you reduce that trade down, the gains down on it, it had that 11% impact. And if we look down further, you could see that the two trades beneath that, we had a slight loss on it, that loss of 3%. So again, this is one of those examples where you see this very clearly, obviously, if you look within 2.0 on the individual trade log for that security, you see all the buys and sells. But you can get lost in what this looks like in real world application. And so what we did with this is we're showing you right now with the actual trade log from 2.0 with this Premier portfolio, what that equated to when you brought it into a real world environment of trade execution. So you see in this case that loss of 3%. It was actually just a very slight loss, barely any loss of.
Impact was 0.64, Mitch.
Yeah, just minimal on that one.
Yeah, so I think one of the things that we were looking at is you look at some of these, when you start looking at individual trades, I think this is the thing where at least it gives you the idea of what the impact is. So let's say you drop, you know, in a big position like this, and with the indexing, you're probably not going to have major drops. I think the biggest impact I saw was in '08 on a couple of trades that actually had a 4 to 5% impact, but we were getting out of them and getting out of the way because the markets were collapsing. There were a couple of bond positions that were still long on the all-weather right around the Lehman failure. And so we had a couple little pieces there. It got out, and then, of course, we went into total protect mode. And but this actually shows you what's going on. And I think one of the issues and what we've talked to advisors over the years about is, you know, they see a loss. Oh, I lost 14% on this trade. It's the end of the world. Well, it's 14% of the allocation. What was the impact on the portfolio? We've talked about this for years, but we've never had a way to actually demonstrate that. And like I said, we're working toward getting technology that this is available on all levels of portfolios. Right now, it's just the Premiers, but it's a stepping stone. But if nothing else, you can look at and start to bring the concept that we're talking about here as far as the trade impact and what's happening with these trades. So when you have a winning trade or losing trade, what does it really mean? And I think that's where I think I don't even know how to say, a lot of advisors get frustrated with losses when the impact on the portfolio is very little. And this is interesting, I think, from my standpoint, is when if I go back here and bring up all of the trades, I don't think any decision that you've ever made in your life when it comes to markets or the ones I have, every one of them have been winning or good ideas, if you want to call good being a winner. I think all of the ideas we put out there are good. It's just a matter of how you manage them as you go forward.
Right.
So the other thing that's on this, there's a couple things, Mitch. Why don't you talk a little bit about, we've expanded the view, and matter of fact, it's sort of funny that most of you don't even know how to find the percentage invested on the trade profile page in 2.0. And so what we've done here is we've kind of expanded it a little bit, not only to how many days, but what the percentage of time that you spent at different levels. So Mitch, why don't you talk about these two graphs?
Well, Bob, as you had mentioned, this is a great example of some valuable information, and this is something that every advisor can access within 2.0 already. They just quite often haven't known where to find it or haven't looked to find it. But within every profile or every portfolio, there's a link that says Trade Profile, and off that page is a link to the investment histogram. And so what this orange chart shows you right here is the amount of time that we've spent at these different investment levels. So see if do I have the ability to drive it all right now, Bob?
I don't know.
All right, go ahead and highlight over. Just go ahead and highlight over the 0 for right now, if you could.
Over the which 0?
The 0. Yep. See if we can get that tool. So you can see here, percent of days invested at 0% equity, 12.86%. So in other words, over the life of this portfolio, if you look at it, we've spent 13% of the time, we'll say, just 100% in cash. So we've been completely out of the market, and that's further evidenced when you look up right above that green area chart that shows you the rolling investment exposure as time has gone on, where you can see how heavily invested we were within this portfolio at different time periods. So what this investment histogram does, this orange chart right beneath it, it takes that same information, but then it groups it so you can see how much of the time are you 100% invested, 90% invested, and so on down the line at those specific levels. And this gives you a very clear indication. Certainly, it gives us a clear indication when we're doing portfolio reviews with advisors, how effectively they're making use of the capital in their portfolios. Sometimes when we're doing an investment review, we happen to notice that there isn't nearly enough concentration over on the 90 to 100% range, and partly that's because something like the allocation factor got skewed, or it was just poorly created in the first place. Similarly to that, you see there's the blue bars to the right of that calls capital preservation. What this does, this shows you how much time or how much percentage of time have we had at least a given level in cash. And so again, if we highlight over, thank you, Bob, but right over the 10% level, you'll see that 62% of the time we've had at least 10% cash on hand. And as we can continue further to look at larger and larger portions of cash, what this shows is how much of the time have we had a 40% holding in cash or a 50% holding in cash. And so this is a great example or a way to understand for people that are accustomed to investing at a 70-30 or an 80-20 type split. You can see that 59% of the time we've had at least 20% cash on hand within this account. So this again is taking that investment histogram data, putting a little bit different spin on the same information. But this shows you how much of the time we have cash, and as you get down to the 80, 90, 100%, the times where we're almost completely, if not 100% fully invested in cash, that it's actually a very small portion of time that represents for the life of this portfolio.
Yeah, Mitch, I want to bring that up because I had a conversation earlier with an advisor today, and they were talking about, oh, we're in so much cash right now at the high, and it's always this snapshot in time that is looked at by an advisor, and the catastrophic thinking comes in play. Oh my God, the market went up. We're in cash. Oh, this is the end. And when you look at the performance of this particular strategy we're looking at, you're looking at over a 200% gain on equity over the time. And so all we're showing you is how it achieves that and giving you a lot more visibility. And that's always important, I think, for you as the advisor, because believe it or not, you might think your customers are emotional, but most of the time you create this emotion for them, believe it or not. Some of the anxiety just kind of flows through, it seeps through like this terrible thing. People get needy when you're kind of needy and you're not feeling comfortable, it flows through. And understanding this is going to help a lot. And folks that we've already shown this to have been quite excited because it gives you the ability now at least to talk about what's going on. Even though right now this may not be your specific strategy, it does give you the ability to understand that, yeah, we may be in a fair amount of cash right now, but that's going to change too, just like the market's going to change.
Right.
And it kind of always baffles me, and even this is really nice for me to see. I've talked to advisors about this, but now it's all visual, which most of us the men in our group are pretty visual, and women are probably reading the tables below. But yeah, and just one real quick comment. As you go down below here, I know these are probably hard to see on the screen, maybe not, they're grayed out. But you can see every transaction, good, positive, and where the impact has been really been by symbol, or in this case, this is just looking through the whole trade log. And so it's brought in a new way to look at the trade log, and I will tell you that Mitchell has done this work, and it's been really, I think, not only has the trade impact chart, we've been hanging around running this thing on Access in the background where you folks couldn't see it for, what, a year maybe, Mitch?
A while, yeah.
Yeah, it's been a while. And it's been making us crazy how to at least start to get this out to you. Originally, what we were planning on was just putting a PDF together in like a white paper, and then we found some technology in the last few months that we thought we could do what we're doing here right now. And ultimately, whether it's this technology or something like it, we'll be able to have it on every one of your custom portfolios, and you'll be able to see this. But I think just the concept in itself, understanding it's going to help a lot of you to understand that if you look at, it's one thing if you do look at the, let me just move back down here a little bit. If you look at the left-hand chart where the orange is, and you're looking at the percentage invested histogram, it just tells you cumulative days. The other chart on the right-hand side helps a lot to understand how much time you're doing there. But even now on this chart, so when we go here, you can see the 12% at 0 also matches over on the other side, the 12% at well, it's 13, I guess.
Yeah, there's some rounding in
here.
Yeah.
We'll call it Mitch math at the moment. But the bottom line is what it's trying to show you is just how this is coming together, and how the process is working for you. And I hope you guys really dig into this. I don't want to spend any more time on this today, but certainly this is a good introduction. I hope a lot of folks get to see this, and maybe we'll crop this out and make it a YouTube video of its own, or put it somewhere where you can see this thing, because I think this is important to understand. So one of the things we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and start talking on Process Warriors here a little bit, and start to get, I'm going to try to do something here. It probably won't work. A little bit. Yeah, that's maybe a little better. Go through some of these slides, and a little bit of review from the session we did the other day. And actually, so far, other than the beginning, this is going a lot smoother from a technology standpoint. That's because I'm not switching around any screens at the moment. So, but the designing your practice around VPM, we touched on quite a few elements the other day, and just to kind of bring this together, we're trying to do our best at bringing in some perspective of how to do this. And one of the things that we talked about the other day is we talked about reviewing your practice, and then going through from the review, getting to the point of determining what your structure is going to be. And we had this little thing on there, I don't think it's on any screens, called SOS, Suggested Operating Structure, and getting all your accounts combined. I was talking to an advisory firm this morning, and they've got asset American funds, and you name it. They still get stuff spread all over. So it's a hassle when it's time to move some assets around. And there's no reason for it to be like that, other than it takes a couple extra steps. And I know all the stuff that you guys have to do to run your business. It's easy for Mitch and I to tell you that you should be moving and consolidating these things, but you should, because ultimately in the end, if you don't recreate the mess that comes out of some of these broken down pieces at different custodians and other things, you're going to end up with a lot easier practice to run. And I keep stressing, especially as your practice gets bigger and you grow, some of your administrative staff will love you for all these ideas, and even if it's extra work up front, it's easy to sell to them to get this stuff done. So
right.
Then, out of this came the building of your offerings. This is coming out of philosophies and things that you know, and things that you want to sell to your customers, and who your customers are, and all that. And then this is simplifying the execution is what I just talked about, combining all this stuff, and then designing a presentation. You got to be able to sell this stuff, right? So those are elements we're going to develop different elements of this as we go through it. But those are certainly things that we discussed in detail the other day, and you can go back and review that video. We found that one of the videos hadn't been made public. There's part 1 and 2. Not sure why that happened, but anyway. So let's in reviewing your practice, just a couple steps again. What are you doing today? What do you want to be doing? All those questions need to come up, and we're glad to meet with you folks one-on-one and help you to design this stuff. We started this channel in hopes that we can get enough people watching us so that you folks actually understand that we do more than ETFDI.
Oh man.
There's more than 5 symbols. There's 18,400 symbols. You can build some incredible stuff, and we're glad to help you. Matter of fact, it's what we enjoy. If you think sitting around and talking about Global Equity 4 is fun, you're wrong. It's not. We'd rather be doing some really much more customized work and helping you folks build a real brand. One of the things we haven't brought into this yet is the branding of your practice, and that's once all this stuff is done, you can really build a brand. And the power behind it is amazing when you get a good solid brand and you do the right things in branding. I know a lot of you over the years we've met, from Peak Alliance and through Ron Carson and those folks, and they stress a lot of this stuff from a internal operational administrative side and some marketing, but when it comes to you got to have the right products to match that. And if you don't have that, then you're just kind of spinning around. You got a great story, you talk a lot of stuff, but it's not really happening. And the missing element is getting that SOS, that suggested operating structure, get everything combined, getting the ability to blast orders and do things. So your business in 2014, folks, should not be a burden to run. It should be simple. You just got to put some effort in and sometimes spend a couple bucks, but it will make you money in the long run because your staff will be less stressed, and who knows, maybe you can do some of the efficiency that some big companies have done and reorganize your operations. So those are really I think important things to talk about. And then looking at all the folks that we know that are successful, they know all the stuff they know. I used to talk about levels of competence, and it's the incompetent doesn't know he doesn't know he's not doing the right things. The competent incompetent actually has a understanding that, gee, I don't know what I'm doing. And then finally you get to the confident side, and you get to be a confident, when you get to the point where you're incompetent, confident, if that makes sense, where you know what you have to do, but it takes all your focus. And then you get into the zone that musicians and sports players get into that zone where everything is second nature. It's there, the structure's there, you don't have to think about doing it, it just happens. And when you see a practice go from total incompetence and chaos and hodgepodge, and then we've watched some of you out there just move your practices over and just do amazing things. It's pretty impressive, and it makes us feel good. So we'd rather do that than talk about ETFDI, right, Mitch?
Oh, I agree. I mean, ETFDI, it's a fine story, but it's not necessarily the most fun story. There's a lot of other more fun stories to talk about with clients. And,
well, like I've said for years, it's a plain vanilla strategy. It's the best scoop of vanilla ice cream you're going to have, but you need to have more than that. And we talked also on the other day about blending strategies to make them work as well.
Right.
So let's see here. I guess I'm going backwards on these screens. I guess these are some further questions just to kind of identify these things. We're doing okay on time, I guess. We've got another 30 minutes, and we got a lot to talk about. But still on the big scheme of reviewing your practice, we beat this down for a reason, because this is where you have to start to be able to get good quality practice to run smoothly. Mitch is the only guy on our team that has had the I don't know, we'll call it the honor of being able to run the VPM in a practice, in a pretty good sized practice, a couple $100 million, and understand all the intricacies. And that's even doing managing those funny things I don't like, those insurance products, VAs, and other things like that.
I've worked with it all. So I mean, and this slide. This is one that I obviously I don't always show slides to advisors when they come on board, but these type of questions I try to dig into in the initial fact finding with advisors, because I just, they may say that this is how their practice is operating as far as a concept. When you start digging into the quality of how the practice is running, these type of questions are very helpful as far as nailing down how structured, how efficient their operations are. One of the joys that I actually used to have was being able to deal with the compliance side of it as well. So I've gone through the broker-dealer audits, I've gone through the SEC audits, I've gone through third-party audits, and I never ever minded going through an audit, because I always knew the condition of the practice going into the audit. They never found anything that I didn't already know. And if anything, it was always just a nice bit of reassurance for me to go through that process. And what I tell any advisor whenever we get to the subject of compliance, if you start to get nervous around compliance, then you really need to take a hard look at how you're running your business, because it shouldn't be that hard. I mean, obviously the regulators try to make it hard on us, but unless you're doing some really exotic stuff, if you're doing the classic equity type portfolios, some bond portfolios, and you know, maybe a few exotic things, but not necessarily private placements and stuff like that, you're really going to steer clear of a lot of the nasty stuff that's out there.
Yeah, Mitch is the only guy I ever met that likes compliance. I
wouldn't say I like it. But
I don't know what to do with that. You know, so every time he starts to talk about it, I actually start to squirm in my seat. So I obviously must not have my business as squeaky clean as he's suggested. And I think that, you know, sometimes I think there's a vision that I don't have enough staff to do some of these things, and I built this product and on the basis for the small one-man shop, even, you know, to be able to do investment process and to be able to scale businesses without having to have a lot of bodies around to do it. You couldn't even run VPM with 200 employees if you had to go through and do all the research and decide which stock to buy, which ETF, and doing all that stuff. It would take you a lot of folks, a lot of spreadsheets, and you would still be stressing all the time running to get this thing done. So I think, you know, that whole illusion, if you will, is really about that. This screen ought to work really good. I think Mitch will be in front of it, but it's too small to read anyway. So Mitch, you actually know this screen since you put this together. I just want to touch on a couple things. I'll let Mitch talk about this a little bit, but you know, it really comes down to not only the assets. You know, we talked about the other day having the ability which to, you know, understand qualified and non-qualified money. All of this stuff is important. So, Mitch, why don't you cover this, since you know the screen pretty well, sort of still on that compliance thread to a point.
Yeah, to a point. You know, this is certainly a healthy element of it, because these type of things, a lot of advisors, they just relegate it to maybe a once a year project as opposed to a process. And what I mean by that is once a year, either they, if it's a smaller shop, or maybe they have an assistant, an advisor will go through this exercise of trying to figure out where everything is at. And this was something that I had developed at the practice that I came from, was this type of view. It's not this exact view. This is some made up numbers here, but it's pretty close to the truth as far as sort of the lay of the land of a pretty common, decent sized practice, where you are going to have assets scattered across a few different investment companies, depending on where you've custodied assets over the years. But what you should be able to know is at any point, certainly within a couple clicks, you should be able to find out where everything is held. So that way you can see what your liabilities are, as far as, you know, what risk is on the table that you've taken on behalf of the clients, that you're properly managing. And if you don't have this type of clear view of the system, you know, I would really begin to question how easy it is that for you to be able to assure the clients that you're watching over those assets.
So go.
All right, are we back up?
Yep.
All right. So as I was saying, when you look at at your practice, just take a look at first off, if you think you have X amount of dollars under practice, we'll begin by looking at where they held at the custodian level, because each custodian has their different either non-transaction fee securities available to you. They have different sub accounts if they're those variable annuity products like I've told Bob about in the past that I used to manage. Because obviously the choices that I had available to me were different at let's say at a TD Ameritrade than versus a particular insurance company with the sub accounts there. And if I still had any assets directly managed at a mutual fund company, I would really look, especially every time that I would sit down with the client, maybe for a review appointment or just checking in if they happen to call with any customer service things. I'd always make it a point to try to drive those assets to one of the larger custodians where the rest of the assets are parked. And here's the reason why for that. If I'm in the role of having to serve the client and I have to pull up one investment company's website and then have to jump over to a different investment company's website to get information like current holdings or the value of accounts, it's certainly a lot more steps, a lot more time on the phone with the client to just click around, log into all these different sites. Whereas if you have it all consolidated at one investment company, if possible, in the case of a brokerage environment, it provides you with a familiar environment both for navigation purposes, plus if you're looking at one account, it's easy to jump over to a different account. It just the benefits are innumerable when it comes to why it is that you'd want to consolidate these assets. And again, if you're accustomed to logging into your LPL BranchNet site or your Schwab site, you're more than likely to see particular things jump out to you if it's outside of the norm. If you're used to seeing a particular login screen, you see that an alert of new money has arrived or trade alerts have been posted, that's going to stand out to you a lot more than if you went to a site that you're unfamiliar with. You don't have nearly as many assets at. And again, it's all about just simplifying the process, bringing that scalability in place so that you can move forward with the clients and better serve them. And Bob, it looks like I lost feed on the glance again.
You did. I'm trying to bring it back.
Hold on a second while we get that pulled back up.
You did.
But just
go ahead.
All right, you back up?
Trying to.
All right. So what this whole process boils down to, it comes back down to bringing a solid product offering. And I often refer this to like setting up a restaurant. There's a couple different ways you could take. You could take the approach where everybody's unique, like a Subway, where you walk in the door, they have a ton of different things, whether it's tuna fish or eggs now. It's all over the board, the things you can get at a Subway. And I like Subway well enough, I guess, but you certainly don't think of going to a Subway of getting a quality meal, because it's really up to whoever shows up at the counter as to what that sandwich is going to look like in the end.
Hey, Mitch, why don't you go ahead and restart the session and use the magic number 8439.
All right, 8439.
Okay. And I've got us both on screen again here, and I want to bring up. Let me just give you control back so you can run things here again. And yeah, so let's see. I don't know if it's letting me give you remote control. Of course, we're having further issues. So
technical difficulties. Yeah.
Yeah, Windows 8 timed out on us, which I've set every possible setting to turn off the so it won't go into sleep mode or whatever. But nothing works on that thing. Bill Gates should be glad he doesn't own as many shares as Ballmer. The thing is just getting worse by the day. And I can tell you, I've got a Mac Pro that we're running to show off, and they're not that much better. So I know some of the folks. I've now got enough Apple devices around my life to realize that they're not perfect either. Just to go ahead, I think the screen you were just talking about, I was going to see if we could. There was a couple screens before. I think you went to that mode there that we wanted to. This goes to what you're talking about right here.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, and this is what I was talking about. So, the idea that everybody's unique, when they go to Subway, you never know what that sandwich is going to look like when you get to the cash register. that's different from the everyone's identical route where, it's like going to a New York City hot dogs vendor. Regardless of who you are, when you get there, you're coming out with a hot dog. Whereas really what you want to design your practice around is that philosophy, like a fine dining restaurant, where it's somewhat exclusive. You have a limited amount of portions of a select number of strategies or models or meals in the case of a restaurant. So there is a little bit of variety, but it's not overkill. You know what your expertise are, and you focus on it. And so it should be like a fine dining restaurant menu as opposed to something like a Taco Bell.
I was going to say, is that why we have Taco Bell here? We're fine dining.
It's been years since I've been to a Taco
Bell.
Of course,
Mitch thinks taking his wife out is going to Chipotle, but that's an inside joke. I saved him. Kids, I actually saved him from that disaster. Having been through 3 marriages, I think I'm pretty good source for that. But anyway.
So what you want to do is this: you want to build your menu, if you will, around a target audience. Who do you want to serve? What is it that you're going to provide them? And then as you're going out through each of these different strategies, these different portfolios, whatever you want to call them, start off by just answering the question: what is the objective of this portfolio? What are you trying to accomplish? And then what is the methodology, or what's the steps that you're going to take to achieve this objective? Making money is a given. Everybody that's an investment advisor as well as clients, they want their portfolios to make money. Alongside of that, they want to make sure they don't want to lose money. So those are 2 givens. The question is, how are you going to do that?
Well, I want to add something in here because I think this is pretty important to understand. Is if you do the first part of this presentation right, none of this will matter because you already know who your clients are, what you're doing. Your practice at this point will already be designed around what you do and how you do, so you won't have to ask who it fit because you built it to fit what you do. So I just wanted to add that in.
Yep, I agree completely with that. But it's important to know your clients and know what it is that you're doing for these clients so that you can be able to properly put them in the right buckets, if you will.
Yeah. I'm sliding the screen around in the background. It's like a buddy of mine used to say every time he figures out what he thinks what's going on in the world, somebody changes the background on him. So he's not where he thought he was. But yeah, I think this is important to recall, and it goes to some of these screens may or may not apply perfectly, but these go through the identification, so we'll probably skip over other than mentioning that they're here. And I guess if you're watching this streaming later or rewatch this, you can pause this and think about some of these elements on the page here. But for the most part, these are typical questions, ETF, mutual funds, trading frequency. We went through that the other day and just talking about, for the most part, I think the only premier strategy we have that has a daily element to it is Global Equity 4. And for those of you that have been sleeping for the last 2 years and just woke up to find out what we're doing, we suggested a while back that the best global equity strategy was Global Equity 4. ETFDI has it's very good for a more conservative profile. If you, for a better return profile, if you're not using Global Equity 4, take a look at it. Open up the fact sheets, go through all that stuff. I'm thinking about some of the things we could do in a show, and we got a couple hours a week, and we're just going to keep talking about all the things that we talk to advisors about. Some of them will be interactive, meaning that we talked to somebody this morning that triggered a thought, whatever. But all of this stuff is important to look into and make sure, at least if you're using some of the off-the-shelf stuff, it's good. My all-time favorite is the all-weather. It's because I built it, and but it was built on a really basic concept. It was an all-inclusive. It's an all-in-one strategy. So it really does fill some of the gaps in a practice. And even if you're doing different types of strategies and you're doing annuities or God forbid non-traded REITs, I always say they're not traded for a reason. But whatever you're doing, I think is important that you have a good mix and that the components of those sleeves, whatever they are, need to be focused on achieving the best they can achieve at those points. Let's see here. Let's see if we can get another screen going here. The next screen came up here, determining the structure. I don't know how much we want to touch on this, just a couple words maybe. But
I'd say the most important thing from this slide right here is that bottom question. Or, if the advisor can't explain how they're currently managing assets, how can you expect the clients to do that? So when you look at how it is you are running your practice, I'm always amazed when I come across an advisor that sort of gets a deer in the headlights look when it comes to that simple question. What are you guys doing? How are you managing assets? And it's like they spend the first 5 minutes just trying to formulate what it is that they're doing, as opposed to going right away to what it is that they do for clients, how it is they're managing those strategies. And so, if an advisor is struggling that much trying to explain what it is that they do, how do you expect your clients, your biggest source of referrals, to be able to have any better job doing that work for you as well when it comes to getting new leads and new potential clients?
Yeah, I think there's going to have to be one of these sessions. I'm going to have to do a Walter Schultze session. Mitch and everybody around me hears about Walter Schultze. He was one of my sales managers that used to be a drill sergeant. He was about 5'2" and full of himself, and you didn't want to get in Walter's way. But one of the things that he would have suggested here, and he's always in my head. This was 30 years ago, by the way. I worked with this guy. Actually, it was more than that. It was like 37 years. That's pretty scary. I shouldn't even be 37 years old. But anyway, one of the things he always suggested, making sure that you are in control all the time of the situation that you're talking about, and by getting what we're talking about, getting a practice set up like what we're talking about, is going to give you the ability. I've preached all the time. I think in 2010 at our national conference, I did a breakout session. I did Walter Schultze, and had a big picture of a drill sergeant pointing out, so you want to make money, and the answer was it's about being structured. It's about having the discipline. But when you build this out like this, and you can sit down and talk to clients and walk your talk and all that stuff, it's amazing what we've seen happen. And it's not always about having the best returns and beating the S&P any day you pull up. The S&P, you're ahead of it every day, every time. That's not what it's about. And if you think that's what it's about, you're definitely in the wrong business. But the bottom line is, what we're trying to help you get structured by doing all this stuff is to have that solid approach, so the customers really stop asking questions. I got to do it. I have to tell you my favorite Walter Schultze story. My very first appointment I went on with him, we walked in. It was a real estate firm I worked at. We went to a couple's house to talk to them about this real estate project that we were presenting to them. First thing he did was old school. This is the 1970s. He walks up to the TV in the old box. He slaps the TV, turns it off. The people's mouth open. He grabs the guy's favorite chair with the recliner and moves it out of the way, and then moves a table or something. And I had 1 foot toward the door because I figured this guy was ready to start swinging at him at any moment. And he didn't. The people just sat there. And what Walter was doing was letting everybody know who was in control. This was now his presentation room. It was no longer their living room. And first time I saw that, I can tell you, I really was ready to run out of the house. I was scared that somebody was going to start swinging at him. And by the end, we got the sale. The people were so happy, moved the chair back, turned the TV back on, and we left. But what it was all about, and what he talked to me, I told him my feelings after that meeting, and he said it was about, I just lost it again. It was about having control of the sales situation, and that's what in my opinion, that's what I've been driving to be able to do for some time. And so I think from now on, Mitch, I'm just going to run this thing from my remote over here. Okay. And I'm not even going to try to get you back in control, since we're at the tail end of the show anyway. But yeah, so that's what our goal is in helping you folks to get to that couple of things: the SOS, structured operational, or the suggested operational.
Suggested operating structure.
Thank you, Mitchell. That's hell getting old, folks. Anyway, but the bottom line is that's what we want for you folks, because ultimately your business just runs better. You make more money. Your efficiencies. It's really, listen. You can look at what's happening in the corporate world since 2008, and watching. Everybody was watching the same movie, and if you, look at General Motors, look at GE. The stock traded $5. It was a $70 stock at one stage, maybe even more. Look at some of the companies out there that everybody was watching the same movie. Like, are we next? All of us in this business were wondering what was going to happen. Was the market even going to be there? It was a very scary event. So a lot of that psychology still flows through everyone. And to a point, now that the market's been going up for 5 years, what feels like nonstop, even though in 2011 there was a 21% drop. Mitch corrected me the other day from my 26 comment. He won a bet, one of the very few, by the way. But the bottom line is, there's been a lot of volatility. There's been a lot of uncertainty. There have been things to be concerned about. But by having a good, solid process that we're trying to get you to is really trying to alleviate the emotional hooks and stay on track with what you're trying to do. And I had a conversation earlier today that it just it made me laugh, because somebody said, "Why do we have so much cash? At the high, shouldn't we own more right now?" And if you think about it, we had lots of cash in March of 2009. In April of 2009, when the markets were incredibly low, we were putting that cash to work. And now we're at the opposite spectrum. We've now seen the market climb for 5 years. We've never been at these levels before. No matter what you believe, you have to understand that this market's getting very, very pricey. Could there be a lot more? Sure, why not? I've seen some crazy things over the years, and markets extending. But the point is, having cash at the moment like we have, I think we're roughly I think it's 43%, something like that in cash.
Yeah.
Not even, no, it's like 30, whatever. It's 57 invested. Let's go that route. And I know that number without converting 43. So, but the bottom line is we're adjusting risk at the higher levels, because as I showed you, I think in Market Thunder, if you watched that show the other day, we were showing some of these amazing trades like Yahoo and other elements that we were long for 15, 16 months, taking long-term capital gains and just letting that stock go. And some of that has happened even in some of the indices. If you look from literally fourth quarter of 2003 going forward, we've been holding these things. But it comes back to the process. And the reason why we started to call this show the Process Warriors is because we really want to drive what a process is. It's not following blindly the buys and sells. It's about everything we're talking about. We know a lot about your businesses. We're a lot more than ETFDI. I think we still have the slogan on there, more than software. We know a lot about what you folks do, and we're trying to get you to embrace us, and even through this video stream that we're doing, and through this channel, and hopefully as customers being able to use the software and help you design something that's really special and really gives you the ability to do things. I don't know if we have any more time for some screens. Let me just see what next screen is.
Yeah, I think we're going to have to save those for the next episode.
I just want to make sure I don't do any more to damage where we're at.
And in regards to that idea about the cash on hand, Bob, you and I talked about this a little bit earlier. I think that back to something like the Case-Shiller Index, a great example of knowing when to hold an asset and when to get rid of it is that an index like that, the housing index. Because the time when everybody was talking about, well, now's the time to get in real estate, was right when the real estate was about ready to crash. Yep. The best time to sell your house was at the top of the market back in, what was it, 2007? Yep. I think was the actual top for the housing. And yeah, it's come back quite nicely to some degree, but we're still a long way from the top of that on that index.
Yeah, we'll see how smart I am, because I bought a very nice home in 2009, and now I'm out of it. So we'll see if that was a good trade or not. But the bottom line is, you want to buy low and sell high, and that's really what we're trying to do as far as help guide you through the process. So as they say, let us help you help yourself.
Let me help you.
Let me help you.
Help me help you. I forget it.
Something like that. Jerry Maguire. We're not very good with those lines, are we? But the bottom line is that's what we want to do. We're passionate about what we do as much as what you guys do, and there's a lot of things that if we can get involved, with you. Like I said before, as we mentioned on the last show, we do have intentions of having one of you, having advisors come on and talk about specific issues and things in the business, and ultimately maybe doing a couple call-in shows and things of that sort. But it's really, I don't know, I'm still excited. Today was somewhat of a rehash of what we did the other day. I'm excited about the new technology, being able to see the trade impact charts. I think that's going to be life-changing. We'll probably try to, and we're going to have to figure out how to make sure we get the message out. The unfortunate part of what we see around a lot of advisors, they log in, they go into 2.0, they look at orders, and they go away. They don't have a clue what we actually can do. And I realize you guys have lots going on as we do in our business, but we are focused on your business, so a little bit of effort can go a really long way from the standpoint of embracing what we have to do and the expertise that we have to show you. So Mitchell, you want to have anything you want to say before we sign out for the day?
I don't know if I have any wise departing thoughts this time, at least.
Yeah. Okay, well maybe next time you will.
Maybe next time.
But bottom line, folks, once again, we appreciate it. I think I like the content of this show today. I think it went pretty good. And then next week, another promise. I promised you the trade impact chart, which we got done. The next promise is that we will go through maintaining your portfolios on one of the two meetings next week. So the next Process Warrior meeting show will be on Tuesday. Don't know what the date is, but Tuesday it will be. Mitch, what is that date?
13th.
The 13th. And then on Thursday we'll have another meeting. So one of those meetings we're going to be able to, we're going to go into maintaining strategies, and then I plan on just walking through a wizard, going through the wizard. And one of the things that probably is mess up the most just in running the software is turn off dates, how to bring in new symbols, right? We see guys doing really good quality screening, but what they do is they wipe out their previous portfolio and put in the new stuff, and they lose all their performance, and they don't even, anyway, it's kind of sad. We hate to see it. Don't do it that way. If you are doing it that way, send us a support email so we can get engaged with you. But we're going to address all of these issues as we go through the week. So, we've got, is this our second or third meeting? I guess it's technically our third, yeah. So we've got 6 hours down, 600 to go, I guess. It's a never-ending understanding, but there's a lot of stuff that I think will be helpful that we're going to do here. So with that, I guess we will say goodbye to you all, and we will talk to you on Tuesday. And actually tomorrow morning, we will see you on Market Thunder. And last I looked, let me just bring that up real quick. I know we might be running over. We don't actually have anybody that tells us that we have to be off the air, so that's good. But yeah, so the market ended up down 256. Are we done yet? Just being done, and 1875.65. I'm telling you, this thing will not stay above that 1882 number. It's amazing. It's when this thing breaks down, I think, not if. And I'm glad we're in a lot of cash. I hope you folks are. So anyway, have a great rest of your days. We'll see you in the morning. We'll go through this stuff. Hopefully there'll be plenty to talk about tomorrow when it comes to the markets. Thanks again, folks. Have a great day.